So yeah, Robert's great introduction made me sound far better than I actually am. And in that same regard, that's what I wanted to talk to you about today. I want to cut through some of the hype, some of the buzzwords that we use, and actually concentrate and discuss not only content strategies, but other methodologies and strategies that actually drive ROI in marketing. Today, where the world is now more than ever, companies are focusing on ROI, and so should marketers, right? Given the global scenario, more and more companies are moving away from Vanity Metrics and actually measuring their marketing through performance metrics and performance marketing. And unfortunately, if we as marketers don't embrace this trend, we are going to find ourselves by the wayside. Too many of us are attracted to the new and shiny, and I think as marketers we can all attest to that, right? It's something new, something shiny, we want to explore it, we want to see how it can make our lives better, without truly understanding the impact that these tools can make or how to utilize them correctly. And that is what I wanted to kind of discuss in a holistic manner, how to use methodologies, technologies, strategies to drive marketing programs that actually generate ROI for your businesses, and how to look at it in a more holistic manner. The first and foremost thing for any of us to understand is to define the purpose, right? Whether the purpose is just to create awareness, making sure that your branding and your brand is seen and recognized, or to educate a new audience to a particular solution or a product that you are offering. Is it to engage with an existing audience, increase your share of wallet? Or is it to generate net new leads, new contacts into your marketing funnel? To understand the objective correctly and mark that out, and then utilize all your marketing resources for that singular purpose, drives far more effective programs than having multiple things at the same time with resources, and now resources are getting more scarce, being divided amongst things, manpower being divided amongst things, and then in the end of the day, not being able to drive a particular objective to its true potential. And for that, to understand the end goal and plan it out is of primary importance, right? The first and foremost step in this obviously is content, right? To understand the content that you need for the objective that you're trying to drive. And all of us have heard this, content is king. We say it, I think, 10 times a day. We believe it, but not all content is created equally. And given today the amount of content that is out there, it is like smiling in a dark room and hoping somebody's going to notice, right? Until your content actually is built on this framework to create content that actually is relevant to your target audience, resonates with them, creates the right type of response and reaches the right people, your content is not king. The first step, relevance, right? Too often we focus on the how are we better? How is our product better than the rest? How are we going to change the world? How are we going to make your life better? Versus concentrating on why. What is the problem that I'm trying to solve? What is the pain point I'm trying to address? See, broadly speaking, there are two types of pain, right? There's one that's a Tylenol problem. You pop a pill, you forget about it, and that's that. You're not going to spend time, energy, resources behind that. Another one is a more systemic problem that you're going to go and visit a doctor, you're going to take time and effort to understand what is happening, and you are devoting resources towards that. And that is the same with any purchase decision. If it's a problem that is identified and the implications of that problem is understood to your target audience, you are going to devote your resources, be it time, be it money, towards solving that problem. So the first and foremost thing for any product or solution to understand is they need to concentrate on the pain. You cannot be a solution looking for a problem to solve. You have to find that problem, elevate that need and pain in the mind of your audience, and then build your content around that. That content becomes far more relevant to a reader than something that is just talking on how great you are. So understanding the target audience and feeding into their need and pain is the first and most important step in creating content that is actually relevant. Now that we understand how to create relevant content, the question is, how do we get it to resonate with our target audience? Right? The best content is fine, but if it doesn't resonate with who you're trying to get it to resonate with, it's useless. So for that, the first and foremost step is truth and credibility. Right? Content, when you are talking about yourself, hey, we are so great, hey, we are solving this problem, hey, we are the best, really doesn't come across with much truth and credibility. Truth and credibility, when you involve your existing users in the content creation journey, have them be your advocates. They are going to be the best advocates for your brand that you can ever hope to have. And let them talk earnestly and honestly. They don't need to paint you in the best possible light. They need to discuss, yes, we saw problems together, we saw challenges together, we overcame that. That kind of content will elicit the right resonance in your target audience because it is coming from people who are sharing the same pain as them. Another great tool that we have is thought leadership. But all too often, we are concentrating only on internal thought leadership without actually seeing the benefits of external thought leadership, whether it is a subject matter expert, whether it's somebody who understands the industry overall or understands the pain area overall. Engaging both internal and external thought leaders and having frank conversations creates content that has truth and credibility built into it and will create far more resonance with your target audience than if it was just internally created content, right? Next is the response. How do we elicit the right type of response that we are looking to get? A minute ago, I spoke about defining the purpose, and the resonance that you're trying to create always goes in hand with the purpose that you are trying to build that content for, right? So say it's more top of the funnel, where you're trying to have people engage or understand with your brand. A long white paper might not be the best way to go. Today, more and more of us are becoming visual learners. So incorporating visual content that is short, crisp, especially with our ever declining attention spans, goes far, far more than a longer piece of content from a brand or from someone that an audience has not heard, right, or does not recognize. So understanding the consideration process and where your prospects might be in the consideration process, the content should be tailored in such a way that it is content that is, number one, easily consumed and relevant at the right stage, right? So understanding the audience and understanding the various players in a technology purchase decision is vitally important. Today, most technology purchase decisions are committee decisions, right? You are not only involving the CIO or the technology lead, you are also having the COOs, the CFOs, even in some cases the CEOs coming in to make a technology decision. Content that works for a CIO does not work for a CFO. That is not what they want to read about, and that is something that they don't want to understand. So tailoring the content, right, to the specific persona in the right format will elicit the response that you're looking for. So everything feeds into itself, right? If you understand the target audience, understand where they are in the consideration process, and then tailor-make content for that stage. That is when content starts delivering the responses that you are trying to generate. Now, we build this great piece of content, right? It's relevant, it has the right resonance, it is designed to elicit the right type of response. How do we get it to reach the people that we actually try to get to, right? Here, leveraging channels and platforms becomes the key, right? Again, top of the funnel stuff, maybe social media is your best bet, LinkedIn and such. Somebody who's further down the consideration process might not want to consume a larger piece of content from social media. In that case, employing other means and getting your content to be present where your audience is present, where they're already consuming this content, becomes important. then they are consuming that piece of content in the right context, right? It is already at a place that they're looking at as a content resource, and they consuming it from there. So understanding where to place the content and at which stage, right, makes sure that you reach the right target audience in the right way. And obviously, you have to employ both organic and inorganic means. Too often we say, okay, we're going to put it on social media, we're going to put it on our own websites, we're going to promote it, and yes, the content is going to be read. I wish that was the case, but more often than not, it isn't. Especially when people are further down the consideration process, to get content to them also needs inorganic means, be it direct email outreaches, be it telemarketing in certain aspects, or a combination of both. Getting the content to them has to be a part of your overall content strategy to get this great piece of content that you created to them. Right? Now we've got the content. Who are the right people to get the content to? And for this, let's go to ABM. We've been talking ABM in one way or the other for the last 10 odd years. It used to be called Target Account Marketing, then it became ABM, then it became ABM Plus, and the acronyms keep coming, right? Although ABM is probably the best strategy to target key accounts, sometimes the way the ABM list itself is created becomes its biggest weakness. Too often, ABM lists are created as just a wish list between sales and marketing, right? And it is created in that silo without perhaps targeting the entire industry or the entire addressable audience. And when you run only ABM strategies without the white space, you are ignoring potential customers from not only the industries that you're targeting, also sub-industries. I have seen a number of times where a particular technology or solution has found application in something that they themselves didn't understand that there might be an application in. But when you start ignoring the white space and only concentrating on an ABM list, you are limiting your possibilities of understanding and generating interest for your product or solution. An ABM list, by definition, needs to be ever evolving. It needs to be constantly and consistently updated, right? Companies can leave, target accounts can leave, new ones should be added, and through white space, right, and through addressing the white space, you can identify more and more companies that are potential clients for yourselves, and also sub-industries that you might not have thought about. And a great tool in this is to use intent, right? Intent to speak to ABM, to educate ABM, and help in not only augmenting, but validating also whether your ABM list is the right kind of companies that are searching for the particular keyword that you're targeting. So everything has to work hand in hand and has to work holistically to educate an ABM list. Now, when we talk about intent, right, and this is again one of my pet peeves. For the longest time, we keep talking about intent without understanding, number one, what it truly is, and number two, how to leverage it correctly. Intent too often is combined with the word buying or purchase. Intent does not inform buying or purchase. Intent signals in its truest form, educates you as to what a particular company is searching for. It is interest in search. It is the intent for particular keywords to be searched at a higher volume than others for a company. What this allows you to understand, which is very powerful, is the context in which you can reach out to these companies. It allows you to understand where in that consideration process a particular organization might be. It does not mean that if they are searching for a particular keyword, they are ready to buy, right? And this can be tracked very, very easily when you use intent correctly. Intent over a period of time will educate you as to, yes, are they in initial consideration phase? Are they just researching something? Or are they really looking at vendors? If they are, say, searching for private cloud over a period of 6 months, you know that they are further down the consideration process. And what it allows you to do is understand how to reach out to them, the context in which you reach out to them. You understand the behavior, and it helps you prioritize leads in your database. It allows you to prioritize which type of content, number one, needs to go to which type of lead, and where they might be in the consideration process. That is what intent informs. And when intent is used correctly, right, it can tell you who is interested and where in that journey the prospects might be. And that becomes a very, very powerful tool, because that informs your ABM strategies, that informs the content that you're trying to create, and that informs your outreach for that particular domain or that particular company, and how to reach out to them with what is relevant to them. That is what intent does better than anything. But intent needs to be used in that fashion. It is intelligence. It is not a purchase signal. It does not mean if somebody is searching for it, they are ready to buy. And too often we don't understand that distinction. Another question is, we now have learned, okay, how to create the best possible content, how to leverage ABM strategies correctly, how to augment it with intent, right? But how do we actually get to them? First and foremost, different channels. You cannot put all your eggs in one basket. You cannot just say, okay, we are only going organic. There has to be a mix of organic and inorganic. There must be a mix of different channels, whether it is different properties that your content is placed on, whether it is different ways of reaching out to that audience, whether it is banner ads, targeted ads, whether it is outbound email marketing, whether it is telemarketing. All of these have its own place in creating a holistic way to reach out to a set of contacts and get the best possible ROI by having it in the right places. So the right channels for content propagation becomes one of the most important parts of being able to actually get this content to the right people. The second part is something that is, again, very near and dear to my heart, is to ensure that leads actually flow through a marketing funnel. No matter at what stage of lead you have created, whether it is a qualified lead, whether it is the top of the funnel, whether it's a band qualified lead, those leads that are passed directly to sales are not going to convert at the same rate if you have not run them through a marketing funnel. You have to have multiple touch points with your brand, not only a single touch point to generate the lead, but then subsequent nurturing processes to make sure that that lead has a higher tendency to convert once passed to sales. Right? The sales funnel and the marketing funnel need to be looked at in two very separate lights. And for any lead to be passed to sales, it has to go through your marketing funnel. It has to be nurtured correctly. That is when you are going to see greater returns from the leads that you're creating. Right? There has to, as I just said, there has to be multiple touch points to the prospects before they get to the sales funnel. Another very important part is the alignment between marketing and sales. Too often, the only people who are speaking in marketing sales is your CMO and the CRO, with the rest of the departments working in silos from each other. Marketing passes leads to sales, sales says these are no good, and they push it back to marketing. Right? Too often, and this is a pain for all of us. A simple thing like for a marketer to crossover and have a conversation with a SDR or a BD goes such a long way in both understanding what they are wanting from each other, right? When alignment is done at the base level, it can inform the type of content you need to be creating based on the questions that your SDRs are getting. It'll inform you as to who your sales folk are wanting to speak to. It'll inform you as what are the questions, what are the rebuttals that are being provided by sales. All of that can then inform the way you create content. It can inform the target audience. It can inform who you are reaching out to, who you are trying to create as leads. And when aligned at that level, sales and marketing then works together towards the goal. It is not just marketing trying to give what it thinks is the best possible leads to sales, and sales saying, no, these are not what I'm looking for. So that needs to happen at all levels. It cannot just happen in the C-suite. It needs to happen at each level and just cross over and have a conversation with the guys actually talking to the prospects. It goes a far, far longer way than you can imagine. Right? It informs you the right people, which informs the right content, which then, in the end of the day, informs the right channels to reach out to those prospects. So, in a nutshell, to quickly sum up, marketers now more than ever have to be focused on ROI. That is the metric that we are getting measured against, and that is the only metric that is going to judge marketing's performance in the coming years. The marketing plan, the objectives need to be clearly defined, and all of your marketing resources be appropriately deployed for that singular purpose. The content that you create has to be driven by a purpose. It cannot be content for content's sake. It needs to be content that is tailored. It needs to be content that is understood for the purpose it's being created. And it is content that needs to be informed by your entire marketing approach. ABM in and of itself is great, but it cannot and should not ignore the white space. It needs to work in conjunction. Your ABM list needs to be ever evolving. And ABM and intent need to go hand in hand and inform each other and speak to each other to create the best possible list for you to reach out to. And when talking about intent, searching is not buying. Searching is not buying. Intent signals help inform your strategy, not dictate it. And your leads need to go through your marketing funnel. They need to be nurtured before they go to sales, and that is how you're going to create programs that actually deliver ROI. And in the end of the day, I can't stress enough, marketing and sales need to be aligned in terms of who you're going after and what is the messaging. So thank you, folks. That is my 2 cents.
So thank you very much, Sameer. We have some time for some questions.
Sure.
Before I ask the audience, you've been very modest by not mentioning any of your own media vehicles, but I'm curious to know what they look like and how they fit into this story.
That's great. So we run a number of media publications,
Yeah.
thought leadership publications, enterprisetalk.com, Talk CMO, IT Security Wire, Talk MarTech, Talk Dev, and Talk FinTech. So that kind of covers most of the functions, but we talk technology from a business point of view. It is not technology for technology's sake to say, hey, how great is AI? It is, okay, how is AI beneficial for, say, logistics? So that is what the conversations are around, where business informs the technology doesn't inform the business.
Great.
And through this, we have created quite a large audience globally, and we are able to help technology companies leverage that audience.
Nice, thank you. And everything you said made absolute sense. It was very clear, very simple, very nicely laid out. I guess I'm curious, as somebody that spends their life in ABM,
Sure.
do you see this being, your approach being a new business generation form of ABM on a volume basis, or could this play, at a one-to-one level, at a one-to-few, one-to-many? Where would you sort of characterize?
It absolutely could. So the problem is once we get stuck into an ABM list and only look at that, right? It is like a horse with blinders on. You are not seeing the larger picture.
Right.
That is my premise for saying that ABM needs to work with the white space, because that will inform an ever-evolving ABM list. An ABM list, whether it is a one-to-one, one-to-many, just adding new accounts, or targeting deeper into specific accounts, gets more powerful if you have an ABM list that is informed through, as I said, intent, informed through white space approach. It allows you to understand broadly what that segment is doing, and then evolve your list accordingly, so you're not spending your resources behind companies that might not be a fit for you.
Right. Perfect. Thank you. There's a big audience, so I'm sure there are lots of questions. Who's got some questions? So Sameer, I'll bring you the mic, or in fact, David might bring you the mic, depending on who's closest to him. Any questions? Excellent. I was thought for one moment we were going to be a silent audience.
Hello.
Hi.
I like the intent doesn't mean they're ready to buy sort of piece, but I do wonder, what do you actually think is at the bottom of that marketing funnel? What is the key elements that show that an account really is ready to buy, buying signals, and that's the point to which you hand over to sales?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think delving deeper into, number one, the type of intent data that is being consumed, the sources that that intent data is being driven from, and then seeing the larger picture. So say a typical technology solution, your buying cycle might be anywhere between 6 and 8 months, right, for a larger solution. So if you see somebody starting to search, or an organization starting to search for, say, a couple of months, that at that point of time would inform you that it is a research phase. The junior most folk are being asked to research on a particular problem area that the company might be trying to solve. When you start seeing that constant search volume over a period of time, that then starts informing you as to, again, it informs based on your sales cycle, that where they might be in that purchasing decision. So but it's a double-edged sword. Somebody searching for a same technology keyword for, say, 5 months might have already shortlisted their vendors, and you might not necessarily be a part of them. So once intent is shown at a particular account, it is at that point of time that marketing needs to start nurturing that account. It needs to create the top of the funnel leads and then work them through its own marketing funnel while constantly updating with that ABM, with the intent track, and then being able to push it to sales. Once you have multiple touch points, you are far more likely to be a part of that consideration than if you were just to go at the end and, hey, they've already got their top 3 vendors.
Great answer. Any other questions? Stunned silence. Desperate for a coffee break. Okay, Sameer, that was great. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
The award for.
Thank you.